Hi guys, welcome back to Inside the GC with your hosts, Charlotte
and Jake.
We just want to firstly start this podcast episode off by just saying a huge thank you for the love and all of the support on the first episode. It is very, very appreciated. We enjoyed recording it and we hope that you learned a little bit about myself and Jake through that first episode.
Yeah, guys, so now we're going to get to the juicy stuff. So what we've decided to do with this one, we put a little box on social media, asked some questions, the most common questions that you guys have, so we can try and get through as much of those and give you as much juicy stuff as possible and give you some real answers for why you're potentially not seeing the results that you want. So this episode is called The Reasons That You Are Not Seeing Results. And because it's such a big topic, I feel we're going to have to break this into two episodes. So we're going to have part one, which is going to be all about nutrition. So today, ladies and gents, buckle up, get your pens and paper.
Get a cup of tea.
Get a cup of tea. This is the one that if you listen to this, you should be going away with a lot of gold, a lot of nuggets, and have some idea of the things that you're potentially doing wrong and things you can change. And then the second part is going to be all on training and lifestyle. Because it is such a large topic, we need 2, maybe even 3 episodes. So
we know that's going to take.
Yeah, we've got a timer that you guys can't see because we know we might go beyond that, but we really just want to get into the gold, into the nuggets, and give you guys as much, as much gold as we possibly can. So what we did, like we said, is we asked some questions on social media about, give us some common questions.
Yep.
And don't forget, we get these questions every single day in the gym as well, right? So we're just trying to cover all of the bases.
Yeah.
So we took our favorite ones. We took down the ones that got more than one more than one question. So yeah, buckle up, guys.
Let's go ahead.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm good. So I think one of the most common questions that we did get asked was all around, how to reach your protein target. I think protein, especially within the gym, as we know, and our fitness and our training and our goals is very, very important. So yeah, one of the common questions that I got was how to reach protein target, specifically reach it on a calorie deficit, and what can I be doing to increasing my protein intake? So yeah, that was the common question.
So Charlotte, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go on. By the way, everyone who does know Charlotte knows that this is her absolute passion. So
literally.
Yeah, she's gonna give you everything you need.
Bread and butter.
So yeah, let's go.
Yeah. So we always get questions asked. I mean, not even just off clients, but off like friends and family all the time. Like my sister quite recently is going through a weight loss journey herself. And she's always asking me about how can I reach my protein and how can it be through dietary source and not always supplementing. And I think supplements is also a big topic that we'll probably go into it on another episode. But for a lot of people, they find that maybe go into a calorie deficit, they jeopardize their protein. They seem to take a lot less in, which should actually be the complete opposite. Remember, protein is one of the most satiating macronutrients that you can have alongside healthy fats. So it actually should be at the top of your leaderboard. Not only that, obviously it not only helps you, massive priority. It helps you build lean muscle mass. Like I say, helps you feel satiated for longer, satisfied, helps with enzymes, hormones. And it's basically the building blocks of life. That is what essentially protein is. Now, for most people, the everyday person, it's just a little bit of education. An everyday person who does not train at all is fine to have around 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram per body weight. So if you weigh 60 grams, should I say, of protein is absolutely fine. But for those who train and specifically train like 4 to 5 times, even 6 times a week, and wanting to build muscle, should definitely be looking at around that 1.5 to even like 2.2 grams per kilogram per body weight. And that's just the preface out there that you'll see through like research papers. So let's say your calorie deficit, let's say you're in a calorie deficit and you're around 1,600 calories, 120 grams of protein. The best way I would recommend breaking this up for my clients and whoever we speak to at the gym is about saying, right, well, you need to section it off into your meals. So breakfast is always the hardest to get your protein in unless you eat eggs and bacon, sausages, any form of meat. Most time people have they'll have oats or they'll have...
Because we're programmed to have cereals though, right?
Yeah,
that's
cereal.
Or you walk down the supermarket aisle and you see protein Weetabix.
Yeah, protein Weetabix.
That's not actually a source of protein.
Definitely
it's just
not.
clever marketing.
Definitely. Then most people also like to use, supplement in their breakfast as well. So they might put like protein powder with oats or protein powder with Greek yogurt, which I do actually say to the members at the gym, like if that's where you're struggling with the most, then definitely get it in there at the start of the day. And you also do want to start your day off with a high intake of protein, because again, that can help you feel satisfied up until your lunch. So yeah, definitely think about that start of the start of the day, the start of the meal that you're going to pick. Okay, where can you get in that protein? So could you add like a couple of boiled eggs in with your yogurt and fruit? Because most of the time, and we get this a lot, like people will come into early morning sessions and they haven't eaten. They're coming in fasted and they're coming in feeling low on energy and feeling low and tired because they haven't eaten their food, which we understand at maybe 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, you're not going to be getting up at 4 o'clock and be frying some eggs.
No,
yeah.
You're not. But it's a great way to be thinking, okay, well, that's when my post meal is going to be like, it's going to be high in protein.
Or on that note, if you are training that early in the morning, everything you've done the day and the night before is in preparation for, right? So if you've had a good meal the night before and you've fully loaded that with carbohydrates and fats and everything that you need, that's going to set you up quite well for a morning workout where you can obviously then filling some. The other thing that they need to understand is we've got those 3 macronutrients, fats, carbs and proteins. Fats and carbs are petrol and diesel.
Yeah.
And then your protein is a completely separate entity, which is, like you said, designed to, it's the building blocks of life. It's what we need. It's like you've covered all those bases. But making sure that if you are training early, you just have that good meal, and then it's not, you don't need to get your protein in if you're going to train at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No, definitely not.
Because you're not going to be using that protein. You're going to be using fats and carbs. So it's about prioritizing, which we're going to get into when we get further down the list of all these questions.
And so just to kind of preface, like, I think we're going to speak about the pre and post training and meals that you take. In the mornings, like really early mornings, you want to be looking at like moderate to low protein and fats and a higher carbohydrate intake pre-workout, pre-run, pre-whatever you're doing. Because like Jake was just saying then, protein uses like the tiniest bit of energy. It's not an energy source. That's where your carbs and your fats are. So for example, let's say you had in the morning, then post workout, you might have had a protein smoothie or a protein smoothie bowl, where then you can add in, Greek yogurt, potentially even a protein powder, fruits, veggies, whatever that you would like to put in your smoothies. A lot of the time I would recommend, I have myself overnight oats, where again, Greek yogurt is a great alternative.
Egg whites, you can mix some egg whites in there.
Yeah.
Sounds disgusting, but you can't actually notice it. If you're pouring egg whites into your oats and you're very slowly mixing as you're cooking, they will not go white, and you cannot tell that you've got egg whites in there. You cannot taste the egg. So that's another good way to do it.
Yep. That's just to increase it even just a little bit. Like you may want to aim in the morning for anything from around 15 to 25 grams of protein in that first meal of the day. And to be honest, that could be whether it's you have your breakfast and then your mid-morning snack is something that's high in protein. So that could be like a Baby Bell, which has got around 5 grams of protein in per Baby Bell. So it's quite good. But it could be a Baby Bell with a couple of boiled eggs, or it could be some peanut butter on a rice cakes with then a Clearway isolate protein shake or something like that. Then your lunch, again, if you're looking at a protein intake, anything from around that 30 to 35 grams, maybe even pushing 40 grams for that dish. A dish that I normally have is a chicken fried rice, and that's literally my go-to. And it's so quick, so easy, so versatile, and it can just be made in all one pan. So I don't know whether we can link anything, but I could always link recipes that I've created.
Yeah, we can put it in the caption.
Yeah, we can put them in the caption. And then again, when it comes to your evening meal, that's obviously the biggest meal. That's normally where people have, trained prior. So then they come and then that's when they need that replenishment of those protein stores. So that should be looking at around that 35 to 40 grams of protein. And as long as you've got a protein source there, as long as you've got a chicken, like lean beef, turkey, salmon, even tofu, like tempeh, whatever you have, as long as you've got that in that meal, you'll be pretty much getting a good amount of protein in throughout the day. You've just got to look at that main protein source and a lower calorie protein source. So your chicken, your lean beef, your turkey mince, those, and cod, for example, those are low calorie, higher protein sources. Anything from like salmon, unfortunately, and like some versions of steak, some different parts of like the meat, the cuts of the cow and stuff, they are higher in fats, which therefore means they'll be higher in calories. Because remember, per grams of 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, whereas 1 gram of protein and carbs is only it's 4 to 6. Yeah.
The way that I like to frame it and try to make it as easily digestible, excuse the pun, as possible is, let's say someone's target is 100 grams. Yeah. We have 3 meals a day. Most humans, most adults should be having 3 meals a day. Sometimes you can have 2. That's fine. But if we reverse engineer, so 100 grams is the target, how can we feed that in? So we've got 3 opportunities throughout the day to try to get from 0 to 100. So if we try and build our meal from there, we need to understand, where do we get proteins from? What are they? We understand that. So then we go, right, breakfast, opportunity 1, how can I get those 30 grams in? So that might be eggs, whatever we decide to be choosing, yeah? Tick that box. First meal done, tick, that's our first 30 grams. Second meal, second opportunity, another 30 grams. And then the average person will consume 30 to 40 grams of protein in an evening meal. So that's, let's call it 30 for argument's sake. So there you've got 3, 6, 90. You've hit 90 grams just from 3 meals. That's let alone any snacks, any additional supplements, anything else you need. So when you actually frame it like that, and you reverse engineer and you make it very simple, it's not actually that hard to get 100 grams of protein.
No.
You just need to understand that you have 3 opportunities, or 4 or 5 or 2, whatever your day looks like, to get from 0 to whether your goal is 100 or 300 grams. And you just need to build your meals from that very simply. So 100%. I always think of it like that. You have reverse opportunities. Make sure that that meal has protein. The first thing you think of when you build your meal, where am I getting my protein from? Is a bowl of cereals going to be worthwhile? Is it, or slice of toast, is that getting me closer to my goal? Is there any protein there? No. Can there be a better option? 100%. Toast is easy. Cereals are easy. It's what we give children because we need to get out of the house quickly in the morning.
Rushing out
of the house. But we can pre-make food, or we can spend more time to get up earlier to make food.
That's what it is.
It's about just caring more about your goal and prepping for it. But it's about making those better choices. Right, I'm going to have eggs and heck sausages for breakfast. Easy, done.
That could be
lunchtime.
preppable.
It's preppable as well if you want it to be. Like you said, there's so many ways you could do it. Lunchtime, right, I'm in the office. Okay, well, what can I bring in with me? Do I want to be cooking salmon in the microwave? Probably not, but you can take a tin of tuna in with you, 25 grams of tin of tuna or whatever else. It's so easy when you understand, or you look at, I've got this goal of 100. I've got 3 meals in a day. I need to fill it. So I had this client, she had this really clever way of doing this. Her target at the time was like, I don't know, let's call it 140 grams. And what she did in her fridge is, you get those like drink organizers, They'll put like cans of Coke in. So she had 140 grams. So we just need to get 140 grams of protein in you every single day. That's just one of your main goals. So we built out this drawer. So she knew that she had to have, we'd put 3 eggs in the drawer. We'd put a can of tuna. We'd put 2 chicken breasts, and she might put like a bit of salmon in there, and a yogurt. So she knew all she had to do is consume that. Doesn't matter how she cooks it. She can ready, steady cook it however she wants to. It's up to her to be the chef. But all she has to do is consume that throughout the day. And if she does that on repeat, 5 days, even 4 days out of 7, she's going to be in a better position than she was the week before. So it's about stacking days and just preparing. She comes from a military background, so it's all about understanding preparation. So she had a little ration pack in the fridge. Had her little sleeve, and she'd put her, right, I'm going to have a yogurt, I'm going to have my chicken breast. So she just knew that's 140 grams.
I like that. I do like that.
You've got to make it easy. Super simple.
I think the prepping is the main thing, like, and you just said it great there with that client of yours. Like, a lot of people who I speak to, all of the members at the GC, the minute I tell them, this is the direction I would head in, they all result in, I just have to be more organized, don't I? I just have to prep more.
Everyone knows you need to be organized,
I'm like, that's the answer. Like, everyone can reach 100 grams of protein or above 100 grams of protein. And it's just about being like, for example, if ever I'm tracking, the day before, the night before, I'll write in the next day of what I'm going to eat. So this is what I'm eating in the morning. This is what I'm eating for lunch. And this is what I'm eating for my dinner. And then if, say, for example, I'm on 120 grams of protein and I need an extra 20 grams, I'm like, right, okay, how many calories have I got left? 300. Okay, I'm going to have some Greek yogurt, and I'm going to have an egg somewhere in the day, like a boiled egg somewhere in the day. And then that there is then the extra 20 grams that I just needed. But because I knew what I was having the day before for the day ahead, I was able to then prep my food. I know a lot of people find it hard sometimes to prep. I can, a busy mom or a really busy job, I understand that. But that we always have time in the day to just, I always say to people, shove it in when you're making dinner. If you're making dinner and you're making a meal for you and your partner and your 2 kids, just shove an extra chicken breast in.
Bulk up,
like
portions,
you've already got the oven on. Might as well not waste any electricity by switching it back on.
Here's an example. Go on your phone, look at your screen time and see where you're, I'm not joking.
See where you're wasting the time.
See where you're prioritizing your time, scrolling your life away, doom scrolling on social media.
That is
true.
And
then come back to me and tell me you don't have time to prepare food.
Yeah.
It's like you prepare for tomorrow. When I get for tomorrow, I'll get my kids' clothes out and I put my kids' clothes out on the banister. The lunch boxes are out. Everything is, because I want the morning to be as smooth as it possibly can. There's going to be curveballs, but I don't want to be late to things. So I prepare. I get my clothes out. I get my socks out. So I don't want to be running around looking for socks and boxer shorts. I prepare my day.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with your food. It's
100%.
And when you go for a food shop, you go and you just prepare, right, I need to buy 5 meals, 5 dinners, whatever my lunch is. It's just having that time. But it goes back to, if you really want it and you generally want to see some results in your fitness, you have to get serious about what you're doing, and it's about preparing and taking the time to do it.
And it's also about then creating that routine. So once you've actually fulfilled that for a week, it's doable, then you just carry on to do it. It becomes a part of your lifestyle. Like for me, I always get asked questions like, do you always hit your protein, or do you always track, or do you always do this? And I'm like, well, for me, it's my lifestyle now. Like this is what I've created as a part of my lifestyle. Yeah. And it's doable for anyone.
It's stacking habits, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just about fitting it into your routine. Like it's possible for anyone to do it. It's just you prioritizing it and finding the time to do it will therefore then create the results that you want. Like it's the hard work that you put in.
It's like anything in life. The effort you put into it, you're going to get a result out of it. It's as simple as that.
100%.
So in conclusion with that question, understand where your what protein is and where to get it.
Yeah.
Understand what your protein goal potentially is, reverse engineer and build your meals out and prepare.
Yeah.
5 simple things, right?
5 simple.
Anything else to add to that?
5 simple things. No, I think that's all good with that one. I think obviously, as we said, we prefaced some of the main protein sources, like your chicken, your turkey, eggs, whey, dairy, fish, like all of those are your main dietary sources that if you didn't want to get in through a supplement, those are the ones that you want to be looking at.
Yeah.
I think everyone is very much aware of that.
I would also, I try to make people understand that can we just keep protein as a real protein source?
Yeah.
Because that just goes back to what I just touched on earlier. When you walk down the supermarket aisles, I see it all the time. Members will post in the WhatsApp, I've just found this protein pizza.
Yeah.
I found these protein bagels, this protein Weetabix.
They're very close to the original.
But the problem with that is it's just very clever marketing to fool you. Because if you turn it around, the reason why they're protein bagels is because they've got seeds on them. And guess what? Seeds is fat with a tiny little bit of protein. But do you know how many seeds you'd have to eat to be able to get the amount of chicken breast?
You'd be like a bird.
You'd have to eat so much. So because they have seeds in them or something that constitutes, they don't have any meat in them, but amino acid profiles. So let's just try to make people understand that it's whole foods of protein. That's animals. It's animals.
Yeah.
That's where you
animals,
get
fish, whey, dairy.
Yeah, that's where you're getting it from. So understand
100%.
it, make it really simple. And also just one quick thing to note there is if you fall short one day, doesn't matter.
No, oh yeah.
Pick it back up.
I think we had this conversation and we said like, I think people think the minute the 24-hour like clock strikes 12 or something, your protein is just completely depleted and you have to restart.
Start again,
You have to restart that kind of jug of water up again to get to the top, and it's not the case. Like your protein is there throughout the day.
It's the duration of that week.
Yeah.
Those 2, 3, 4, it's the consistency.
And I always say to a lot of clients, look at the average of your week. Don't look at a day by day. Like look at the average. If you're still hitting 100 and whatever grams, 20 grams of protein throughout the week, and because one day you was like really high and the next day you felt a bit short, that's okay. Like, don't panic if one day you're like, oh, I only hit 90 grams today. Because if you force feed yourself, that's when it becomes like, oh, I'm just putting myself off. You're setting yourself up for failure. So just, avoid
I
that.
think it goes back to like, you're just like a car.
Yeah.
A car requires oil. I'm not a car. I know I like driving cars. I like fast cars, but I know nothing about cars.
Yeah.
But a car needs oil, petrol, and it needs some water. Yeah. And like you say, you don't wake up the next day and have to re-put petrol in all over again.
No.
Your car throughout the day will use up petrol. It will use up oil. It will use up water. It will use it up. So that's what you're doing with your body, because you are moving and you're being active and you're thinking and you're training and you're just living. Your body is using up protein. It's using up carbs. It's using up fat. It's using up all of that. And like you say, you don't wake up in the morning and go boop, back down to zero. And it's time to start a new day again. It doesn't work like that. So it's that constant consistency from start to finish.
100%. And I think this kind of follows on to a really great question that we got. And I think, again, we got this quite a lot. We do get them in the gym as well, is about like tracking and, do you have to track to see progress? And do we track? And when can you stop tracking? When is it good to actually just go kind of like riding cold turkey and just kind of look at your food and know what you're doing?
So there you go, Charlotte. First question to you. Do you track?
I track if I've got a specific goal that I'm going to be working towards. So if I'm wanting to lose weight or if I'm wanting to strip a bit of body fat,
did you track? Are you tracking today, for example?
No, I haven't tracked today.
So does everyone need to track every day?
I think for me, it depends on their goal. And it also depends on how much experience and education you have with your food. If someone brand new came into the gym, a complete novice, and they was like, I don't want to track because of X, Y, and Z, but I want to lose weight, I would have to speak to them, well, realistically, your best option is to track your food. Because you don't know about your food. Like you're complete newbie to the gym, to the fitness world. How do you know what you're eating? Because I can guarantee the amount of conversations I have with people who say, I don't eat that much food, but I've gained X amount in a year's time. Yeah. Well, obviously I know a lot of things interplay with that, depending on age, menopause, stress, all of that sort of stuff. But let's just say it's a 25-year-old girl who comes to me and says, I don't eat that much food, but I've gained 10 kilos in the last 3 months. Well, the science and literally the science behind it's either if you're in a calorie surplus, so you're eating more and expanding less, so therefore moving less, you will put on weight. You will gain weight because that is a science. And then on the flip side, if you're in a calorie deficit, so if you're eating less, burning more, you will lose weight. That is literally the science. So when people come and say my metabolism is broken, like I can't lose weight for anything, it's because you're not eating in a calorie deficit. That's why you're not losing weight. That is literally facts. And so if I was trying to lose weight, I could do it now from purely knowing what my food is, eyeballing things, only because I've literally tracked for probably half of my life and I'm 25. If someone came to me and was like, I've tracked for 6 months and I feel like I can do it now, I'd be like, I don't believe you too much because you're not that educated from just 6 months worth of inconsistency of tracking.
100%. Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. What I always used to say to people is you don't want to be, first of all, I'd look at a client and their personality when I sit down with them, be like, right, what kind of person are you? What do you work in? Are you someone who sits all day long doing spreadsheets or you're a numbers person? You're going to not be too bothered. You're probably going to enjoy tracking. Yeah. Where if you're someone who's a builder, you're hands-on, or you're a busy mum and you haven't got time, you're probably going to loathe tracking because you don't have time. It's the last thing you want to do. So it needs to look at that person. But at the same time, you have to have that honest conversation, like you said. And I used to like explain it as it's an awareness app. Yeah. It's making you aware of what you're currently doing. So I always say to people, track your normal day. Just do one full day, just so that you can see it and so that I can see it. And then from then, you're going to look back and be like, shit,
I actually do.
I'm eating like 2,800 calories and I'm only actually having one meal and the rest of my food is coming from junk food and shit.
Snacks,
drinks and alcohol and liquid food and fizzy pop and whatever else. So doing it at the beginning as an awareness so you can see how far away you are from where you need to be. So you can actually see how much protein you're currently getting, what the rest of your macronutrients is looking like and what your calories are looking like. Once you do that, and we fix things, then I would ask people, just do that. Just continue with that again, so
yeah.
you can understand how to play the game, because it's a game and it's about understanding how to stack habits. And you now know exactly what's on the bagel, the peanut butter and banana salt bagel that you have every single day. You know how many calories are in that.
Exactly, to a T.
To the T, because you've eaten it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know how many calories are in an apple because you've done it 1,000 times. So that's all it is just understanding and building those habits. Excuse me. So I would say, yeah, you don't have to be married to your MyFitnessPal or whatever app you're using, but it is a good idea from time to time. If you recognize that your results are changing, or you're not consistently losing weight, or there's something your performance isn't going well, you're not getting stronger. It could be the other way around.
Yeah.
It's a good idea for you to track
You might not be eating enough.
That's what happens to me.
Yeah.
Me personally, mine's opposite. I don't overeat, I undereat. I'm too busy. So I know what my typical calories are around 3,000 calories. Protein might be 250 plus or whatever. But I might still have 3,000 calories, but they're not of good food. It's me just grabbing and going.
Yeah.
So it's from time to time, and especially if I'm training, if for example, my deadlift not going up, but I'm consistently training, well, I need to look back and be like, well, where am I dropping the ball? So if I track my food for a few days and say, well, actually, I'm only having 150 grams of protein, I'm 100 grams off consistently
That's
for 2, 3, 4. That's going to stack up. So being aware and using it as an awareness app is the most important thing. So you can see it's a map. It's essentially a map. This is the destination that we're going, but sometimes without using the map, we might head off over that direction.
Yeah.
So it's a good idea to just check the map now and again to make sure that we're on course.
Yeah.
That's what I would always advise people to do.
100%.
But at the same time, you don't want to be one of those people that develops a bad habit from it, and you're tracking lettuce leaves and everything else.
Yeah, that used to be me. Yeah, I think that's a great thing about saying the awareness.
Healthy balance, right?
Yeah, MyFitnessPal or Nutritrek or whatever you use, it's an educational tool. It's going to get you knowledge and experience of food, so that every single time you weigh out 120 grams of chicken, or you look at a chicken breast, you're going to know how many grams is that. The amount of times that I've gone to my boyfriend when I'm about to pour out the rice, I'm like, look, I'll get 100 grams. And he's like, I'll close my eyes and I'll literally pour it and I'll get very close to the dot of 100 grams because I'm so used to it now. And and I think that's where it is. It's building those habits, and it's understanding what foods are going to provide you with X amount of calories, X amount of protein, X amount of carbohydrates. And that's through education and through experience. So when people come to me and say do you reckon, or do I need to track? I will always say yes, especially if your goal is weight loss, because weight loss is a tricky one if you're not knowing what you're eating. And if you think that you're eating your calorie deficit and you're not losing weight, therefore you're not obviously in a calorie deficit. But it could be the opposite. It could be that you're in a calorie deficit, but you're actually eating too little. So therefore you are lacking energy a lot. And then when it comes to a weekend and, you're having a bit more of a relaxed approach, you end up overeating. Again, the average thing that we've just spoken about, you look at your average and you're 200 calories over every week. You're 200 calories over your deficit.
Times 7.
Yeah. What's that? 1,400.
Then do that times 4. That over a month. That's a lot. That's a lot of calories.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think that's where people, when it comes to a calorie deficit, that's where the question is about.
Like a bottle of wine, 700 calories in a bottle of wine. You tell people that they shit themselves 700 calories in a bottle of red wine. Yeah. But you don't track that because it's liquids.
Yeah, and you don't track the biscuit
and how
you grab out the cupboard.
Wine do you have? I have 2 a week. Okay. Well, that's 1,400 times 4 again.
Yeah.
That's how it all stacks up. So it is. And statistically, the people that are tracking, they're the ones that are seeing the better results. Yeah.
Yeah. I was in a weight loss journey last year, really consistent, tracked every day, lost the weight that I wanted to lose. And that's because I literally knew what was going into my mouth through MyFitnessPal. And I've done it before, and I've gone into, calorie deficits previously when obviously we spoke about it last time, when I was in my eating disorder phase, and I would eat way too little and I'd be hitting 800 calories a day. Yeah. And I was tracking lettuce leaves and pieces of, carrot and stuff like that. And that is just not necessary.
Even oils, sauces,
you got to make sure they're in there.
Mayonnaise. People the difference between
syrups.
5 grams and 50 grams of that is a huge
Especially
amount of calories.
Olive oil.
Honestly, we get it all the time. I had a conversation, I think it was only last week, with a client, dropped me a voice note, frustrated that she's not losing any weight. my first question was, are you tracking your food? Yeah, I'm tracking my food. Okay, how long have you been tracking your food for? 4 days now. So in my head, I think I even had the conversation with you and the other coaches. I said, because you've been tracking, this person's been tracking their food for 4 days, they think that then warrants them that they're going to just suddenly magically lose some weight because you've been good for 4 days out of 30. Well, what have you been doing for the past 7 days before that, the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah.
You've been tracking for 4 days. Cool. Well, you've got another 26 more days of tracking for you to actually start seeing some results.
Yeah, 100%.
You can't just go, I'm going to track for a week and then it's going to disappear. But it goes back into us talking about stacking habits. Like, I'm a creature of habit. I have the same breakfast or the same 2 breakfasts, the same 3 lunches, and my dinners will be like the same 7 dinners. But you, as whatever you cook, like this, you like your chicken rice thing that you cook, you cook that the same.
Every single
it's the
time.
same amount of mushrooms, onions, whatever goes into it.
Yeah.
So all you've got to do is with your meals is track them a couple of times. Track them as a recipe. Like, I know that every day I have 3 eggs, 3 pieces of bacon, and a handful of mushrooms. I know exactly what that is because I've done it so many times and I've tried it so many times. So if you can become a creature of habit, it just makes it so much easier for you. Like, everyone, if you make, everyone out there makes bolognese and curries, whatever, you all make it the same way every single week. So it's not going to really change too much, is it? If you're using the same amount of ingredients all the time.
Yeah.
So just track it a few times and then you know that your bolognese or your rice dish is going to be 700 calories, 800 calories. Your roast dinner is going to be 1,500, 1,000 calories. Like, once you've tracked it, you know.
Yeah.
And then that's when you can start stepping away from MyFitnessPal and start tracking.
And I think, well, MyFitnessPal is great. I only use MyFitnessPal when I do use it. And you can create recipes on there. So the minute you've actually, like, for example, I put this like chicken and cheese orzo thing on the other week. And I had that like 2 nights ago. And all I had to do was, obviously I knew what is in it, but if I was tracking, all I would have had to do was go onto recipes, one that's created, and just literally press serve.
Yeah.
Because I know exactly what's in that. So I think, using that recipe tool, if you are tracking, is great. If you are in a calorie deficit, the short answer is yes. I would recommend tracking. You don't know what you're eating. Otherwise, if you're not in a if you're not tracking your food, you may think you're in a deficit, but in reality, you're probably not, because you might forget the biscuit that you grab at work, or the milk that you have in your coffee, or the olive oil that you use in your dishes.
The Starbucks that you drink in. Like, do you actually know how many calories are going into that?
Yeah. And like, which are you? So
like you're having 450 calorie liquid coffee. You're having one of those a day, again, times 7. That adds up. That 100%. All adds up.
Yeah. The little, I don't know, you might go into the fridge and just take a few blocks of cheese. Like, unless you actually track it, you don't know. And people tend to forget. And then they obviously are like, well, I'm not losing weight. Well, I'm sorry. The science says it all. You're not in a calorie deficit, because that is the only way you will lose weight.
Some kind of hormonal dysfunction, which again is quite common. We've seen it all, and this happens again in our gym. People
underactive, overactive thyroid as well.
Yeah, but people compare to others. Why is this person losing weight faster than me, and that person? That happens, but it all goes down to your genetic profile. Sometimes, unfortunately, you might have been dealt a bad hand, and you might have a hormone imbalance, and then that's when you start having to go down the other route of looking at bloods and how food's reacting within you. And then that's when your type of carbohydrates change, the type 100%. Of proteins you change. Maybe it's a good idea to step away from processed food and supplements, protein powders and protein bars, and start going more down sort of the whole food. But first and foremost, just track your food.
Yeah.
Track it consistently. And if you're still not losing weight after 28 days of consistently tracking, then we can have conversations about, right, well, why not? And then you can start to look at, is it a hormone imbalance? Is it menopause? Is it premenopause? Is it postmenopause? Are you?
What could it be?
It could be PCOS. It could be so many different things.
Yeah, and I think another question that we got asked, so this would probably be great to go into, was when people do panic that they start the gym and they don't see the scale go down, but they see changes in their composition or their physique.
Yeah.
Because people, and I know a lot of people know this now, especially, that they understand that muscle weighs more than fat. So if you're building muscle in the gym and you're losing body fat simultaneously, your weight is probably not going to go anywhere. It's probably going to shift around the same. Obviously, a woman in their natural cycle anyway has shifts in their weight up and down, but primarily when it comes to building muscle and losing fat, which was one of the questions that we got, how do you build muscle and lose fat at the same time? You're not going to see much difference on the scale there. So yeah, I think this would be a great topic to kind of feed into now.
This is one of the things that I hate so much, and what we talk about all the time is non-scale victories.
Yeah.
Everybody, unfortunately, and most females are still programmed like it's the 90s, where it's 0 calorie diets, it's, the no carb sort of fluff and all these kind of fad diets. And they gauge their success based on the numbers between their toes. Now, first of all, if you're someone who trains, the scales are no good for you.
No.
At all. The scales are great as a starting point for a few reasons. So we can understand where you were starting at, and we can understand what your calorie allowance and your energy
you need
balance
to know that
should
for
be.
your calorie targets.
From then on, it's going to get a little bit more useless for you as you go down the line of training. Because when you start to do resistance training, like you said, we're going to start building muscle. You are going to lose fat, but within your body, you've got water, fat, and muscle. And all three of these things are changing whilst you are changing. So you're going to get newbie gains and you're going to drop a good few pounds.
Yeah.
But what most people think they're doing is when they're dropping, or their friend says they've lost 10 pounds in a week, well, there's no way you've dropped 10 pounds of fat in a week.
No.
You've dropped 10 pounds of muscle.
And water.
And water, because you've dropped your diet down to 800, 700 calories. So it's about understanding that we have to get away from the scales, because that's what we've known for the past 20 years is, you look at Weight Watchers and Slimming World, you go into these halls and you get weighed and everyone gives you a clap. Yay, well done. She's lost some weight. And if you don't lose weight, you get, oh, sorry, try better next week.
Yeah.
Well,
what have you done this week?
Well, what if that person has dropped a dress size, but their scales say exactly the same thing? What if that person's just dropped 3 inches off their hips and their waist, but the scales say the same thing? Does that then matter? Would you care more about what the scale says, which is your relationship to gravity and the floor?
Yep.
Or would you care more about what your picture says, what your clothes size say, and that you've dropped a bunch of inches off of your body?
Yeah.
This is where we have to get that mindset shift. And that's why within our gym, especially, we try to focus our members more around performance, building habits, fueling your workouts properly with nutrition, but gauging your success on how you perform, how you're looking, non-scale victories, rather than constantly looking at the scales. That's why we don't do weigh-ins.
No.
We don't have any of that, because to me, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, and if people want to weigh...
I'll chuck a tape around you.
Yeah.
And I will look at your dress size and we'll look at how you're performing. But you're going to be building muscle. And the more muscle mass that you're building, naturally fat's going to be dropping. The more, that's the whole game. The more muscle mass you can put on, the more that you can technically weigh. But everyone's like, I don't want to weigh anymore. Well, if I say that you're going to put on 7 pounds, but you're going to drop 2 dress sizes,
and your body composition is going to look completely different.
Your BMR is going to be going up, which means you need more food to stay slimmer and stay more toned. So that's the game. You want to be putting on more muscle mass so you can eat more food.
You do.
That's the game. And I always give this extreme example of The Rock. Yes, that guy's pumped full of steroids and growth hormones. He eats 10,000 calories a day. But the reason why he eats that is because if he doesn't eat that, because he's got so much muscle on him, he'll start to lose that.
Yeah.
So because he's got so much muscle, he needs that food to stay there. So that's the game.
That.
The more muscle mass that you have on your body, the more food that you need.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah. And I guess when it comes to like building muscle and losing like body fat at the same time, like people are always like, is it possible? Like, yes, it is possible. We obviously preface protein at the start of the episode, and that is absolutely crucial when you're on this phase. Increasing your energy expenditure, so making sure that you're not just going to the gym once in the day and that's it.
Or steps, right?
Like
steps are such an undervalued
100%.
tool.
Like you've got 24 hours in the day, and I mean 12 of that, obviously sometimes people are just chilling at home and then they're asleep for 8 hours or whatever, but the 12 hours that you might have from like the minute you wake up to the minute you sit down on the couch in the evening, if you're just going to the gym once in those 12 hours, that is a minor percentage of your movement of the day.
This isn't saying go to the gym more than twice a day, by the way.
Oh yeah, this is not me saying that. Please, this is not me saying that. But it's you actually not just utilizing that and being like, oh, well, I've been to the gym today, so that's it. Like, and I'm not saying everyone needs to get these 10,000 steps in. That's I think that sometimes I feel like I was listening to a podcast myself and they were talking about why is it just 10,000 steps? Why is that a number? I'm not saying you need to reach 10,000 steps every single day, but you need to do more movement, especially when you're like wanting to lose fat and build some muscle, because your resistance training, your strength training, which is obviously a main priority when in this phase, is going to be up there. But you also need to move more, because you won't be in necessarily a calorie deficit. You'll be around maintenance, like your maintenance calories or maintenance, whatever you want to call it. That's where you'll be when you're on this journey, because you need calories and you need a high amount of protein to gain muscle, but you also need to move more to reduce that body fat percentage. But as Jake just said then, your metabolic rate will be a lot higher when you build more muscle. So therefore you'll burn more energy when rested, and therefore you'll be able to eat more.
How cool does that sound? You're sitting down in bed, burning calories. You're sitting down on the sofa burning calories because you've got more muscle on you.
Like myself and Jake sat here. Yeah. Me and you sat here.
Because we're more muscular than the average person. Yeah. We're burning I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
I can't wait for some food.
I need some food.
We're us sitting here because we've got more muscle on us than most people. We're burning more energy.
Yeah. Compared to if two people who never went to the gym, don't have any lean muscle mass, or, only have a minor amount of muscle mass, they wouldn't be burning half as much. So this is why when we speak about resistance training and strength training, and obviously there's an abundance of benefits towards it.
Which is in part 2, by the way.
Yeah, which will be in part 2. But like you were saying, like how much better is it that you actually are able to eat more because you've built that lean muscle mass. Like that is what happens.
That's the game.
It's what you need to know. So yeah, it is possible to build muscle and lose body fat, but the 3 things, as we were saying, is increasing your energy expenditure, so your NEAT, your non-exercise, which is things like cleaning your house, going for a food shop, going for a bit of a walk, like things like that are easier. You could go for 10 minutes post every meal that you have, 30-minute walk a day, like just increasing your steps.
Could be walking your kids to school rather than driving them just to live around the corner. Simple things. Like I always have this thing in my head, I'm going to take the stairs. Doesn't matter where I go. Yeah. In London, I don't take escalators.
No escalators
I'm
for
that
me.
guy, and everyone looks at me like I'm a weirdo because I'm going up. I'm taking the stairs. Those huge flight stairs. I'm that guy. And there might be a few other people, and I look at them and I give them a nod because I know that you're a fitness person, you take the stairs. But it is doing those little extra things.
Yeah, little minor
When I worked
movements.
on the cruise ships, I forgot what the statistic was, but they used to say, like, on average, the average passenger would put on, like, I think it's like you'd put on a stone minimum, because obviously all the food is like
in a week.
Yeah, because I think there's 3,500 calories in a pound of fat. Mm-hmm. So I think most people, you put on, if you're there for 7 days, you put on 7 pounds, for example, right?
Right.
Easily, because everything is free and you've got buffets everywhere, like
drinks.
You've got burgers, you've got a burger place, you've got pizza place, you've got ice cream on tap, you've got all the alcohol, right? And there was the statistic, but I can't remember what it was, but the people that took the stairs instead of taking the elevators, because there's 15 floors, if you constantly took the stairs, you're almost like breaking even. But the people that are taking the elevators everywhere, they're the ones because your NEAT and your movement, because you're going to eat and just sit on a sun lounger all day.
Yeah, that is very true. No, I get you.
It's mental. But going back to that question, I've got another good question for you off the back of that, Charlotte. Because so often it's a race to the bottom. People will drop their calories down to something mental like 1,200, 1,300, 1,400, 300. And then someone like you comes in and goes, that's too low. We're going to put your calories up. And then they shit themselves and they're like, what? You're going to put me up? And they get scared of that. So talk us through that process, because this happens so much in our gym. We will give advice to people, like you have your whole career and I have my whole career. Yeah. And they go off the beaten track and go and do something else and drop their calories down to a Vietnamese prison level of 1,000 calories, a day.
Yeah.
And then we come in and go, no, we're going to put you up to 1,900 or over 2,000, and literally their eyes light up like 2,000 calories, and put you up 2,000 calories. Yeah. And then suddenly they start dropping
weight,
fat, not muscle. So talk us through that, because that links into this question.
Yeah. So I think what a lot of people think is that if they eat less, they'll therefore lose the weight. And
Which is true. In a way.
Which is true. Obviously, those people who unfortunately have eating disorders, those people that come, anorexic, they've got there because they don't eat. So yes, that is true. You will.
If you're stuck on a desert island with no food,
you will lose weight.
You're going to lose weight because you've got no
100%
food.
will.
That's the science,
but when you're training, and obviously it starts to involve a lot more hormones, enzymes, energy systems, this, that, and the other, your body will basically feel like it's, in that starvation mode. So it won't actually metabolize anything. And for a lot of people, when they go into, major calorie deficits, like 800 calories, they'll be, well, a lot of the time, I actually just want to preface as well, a lot of the time people might think that they're on 1,200 calories a day and they're like, I don't eat that much.
But they're not tracking oils and sauces.
But they're not tracking everything. And they get to the weekend and they might, go out for a few drinks with their friends. They might go out for a meal. So in reality, a lot of people are not actually on what they say they're on.
Or they think
that they're on, in my opinion. I had one of the members quite recently. I think she was hitting around 1,400. This was obviously what she just puffed into thin air, put herself on that. And I was like, no, that is way too low for you, what you're doing in the gym.
And also training 5 days a week, right?
Training 5 days a week, obviously running, trying to lift heavy.
Prepping for a competition, no doubt.
Yeah. And I said to her, we're putting your calories up. And she was like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, like we're putting them up. I was like, I'm going to put you on around 1,800. Like I obviously worked it out.
So 400 more than she was on. 400
calories more. She obviously panicked, which within doubt you would. So that's why, for preface, if you ever are on really low calories, you would reverse diet up slowly because you wouldn't want to go straight away 400 calories. So I believe when you're reverse dieting, you'll add anything from like 100 to 150 per week. Just that it's a slower approach and it's not you're just giving someone 400 calories, because not that will do anything, but water retention, you would probably gain a bit of water retention from that, which is nothing. It will just come off, obviously. And she dropped, she's the one who dropped the 30 kilos in our gym. Like she's been here for over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
30
and
now
kg.
30 kilos.
Amazing.
Big.
But can I just note there, for the first 2 years, there was little to no movement.
Yeah.
Because the diet, I don't know using that word, nutrition side of her journey, shall we call it, was sort of underlooked and again fluctuating. And it was only in the past year to 9 months that she's got serious and working with you, where you've gone, no, we're going to bump these calories up and we're going to make sure that we're doing X and Y. And then that's where she's had this dramatic change because she's finally gone, I get it now. Because also what she's done over those 3 years is she's learnt all of the lessons.
What works for her.
She understands what's in her food now. This is a journey. It really is a journey. And those 3 years is she's learned so much, so much about how she eats, how her body reacts. She has a busy social life. She's always out every weekend drinking and partying. But you've upped her calories and she's dropped 30 kilos overall. Not obviously right now, but overall since she's done.
Yeah. But I also think a lot of people, they tend to go to so obviously we have our total daily energy expenditure that's split up into 4 things. Basal metabolic rate, which is basically what our body needs to survive, like what your organs need to survive in terms of calories. So a lot of people go way below that. So if, say, for example, your basal metabolic rate is 1,300 calories, if you're eating less than that, your organs are not having anything. What you're giving your body absolutely nothing. So for me to obviously then put someone on higher, which is a sustainable calorie deficit that's realistic and achievable and attainable, is when you're going to actually see those results, because you can stick to it and you can think out the meals that work best within the 1,700. Again, it's sustainable and realistic. So it's something that you're going to be able to stick to consistently throughout the week. And you're still going to have the energy to lift stronger, because as we've just literally said before, if you lift stronger, you build more muscle. If you build more muscle, your metabolic rate goes higher. You therefore burn more energy. That's how it goes. That is the system of it. So building muscle, and you're not becoming bulky. That's not what we mean. Building muscle as a female is so, so important. You can eat, who would not want to eat more? So then they could still see the results. So yeah, a lot of people find it scary, but the amount of people that I've put on more calories and they've seen a drop in their weight is literally insane.
Because what I see way too often is when people are, like you said, they're under eating. And there is this thing, I've seen it many times on social media where other big fitness people said, there's no such thing as survival mode. There's no such thing as that doesn't exist. Well, it does exist. Like when you are going too low, your body does literally think that you're not going to get food again. So it just uses what you've got now to survive, to think, to go to the toilet, to function as your your daily basics. So when you are going too low, the way that I explain it to people is, it's like pressing pause on your washing machine. Halfway through the cycle, you're pressing pause. The washing's not going to get done.
No.
So because you need to put some more, it's like a furnace, like on a steam train. You need to be dumping loads of coal and wood in there to keep that train pumping and keep it on the rails, keep going round. But when there's not enough in there, it's going to slow down. It's not going to do much.
Yeah.
So going too low, there is that middle ground of going too high, you're going to be putting on weight, but going too low, you're going to be pressing pause and you're going to be stagnating.
Yeah. And it comes with a lot of things that can then affect like hormones
100%.
as a woman, their menstrual cycle, energy levels, your libido, how you feel on a daily basis.
And this is all ages. Like,
yeah, this isn't just like...
We had another client, again, we can't name clients, but 19, young, terrible problems with hormones, bleeding, all sorts of things. And the advice we gave was like, let's just really go back to your diet and completely strip it down and have a look. How much processed food's coming in? And a lot of it was like looking, how much protein are you actually having? What's your iron level looking like?
Yeah.
What are all these things looking at? And she went away, did some basic
tests and
did
stuff,
some tests, but did some basic sort of, the doctor gave her some advice that was shit. And then she came to us because this is our profession, is food and training. That's not what the doctor's qualified to do. They're there to give you, pills and prescriptions and push you onto a specialist. But it was about having a food diary and understanding, for her to understand where her potential areas of change could happen. And she could see that she was only getting like 60 grams of protein. She could see that all of her food was coming from processed carbohydrates. There was no good fats in there. There was no amino acids in there. So once she could see where these are all the holes in my bucket, she could then start to patch them up and increase her protein, start to get more whole foods in, start to concentrate on getting actually some fats in, because guess what? You're 19, 21. You need that for your hormones and your cycle. And she did that and it completely stopped the bleeding and it fixed her.
Yeah.
That's the power of food.
Yeah. That's just you knowing what, again, works best for your body, because some people can, and I mean, this member that we were just talking about that's dropped 30 kilos, she prioritizes healthy fats and protein. Her carbohydrate intake is lower than her healthy fats, which is fine because, again, fats are energy anyway. So she's just utilizing her fats for energy. Whereas someone like myself, I'm fine with a higher intake of carbohydrates. Like my body thrives off that. Like I don't feel sluggish. I don't feel tired off them. I don't feel lethargic or anything. Whereas if you were to eat yourself,
I'm the complete
you're
opposite.
complete opposite as
I'm
well.
the complete opposite to Charlotte. Charlotte is that. Charlotte is bagel, carbs,
banana, bagel.
Before she trains, it is carbs, very heavy carb loaded to give you that energy. I'm the total opposite. I have an autoimmune dysfunction where I now know certain foods don't agree with me. Processed food, sugars, alcohols, gluten, all these things don't agree with me. I could easily sit here and have an almond croissant, which I do. I have an almond croissant every single week. But if I had some carbs before I train, if I even have porridge in the morning, I know that's going to make my joints inflamed, but it's also going to make me feel very sluggish.
Yeah.
They don't work for me.
No.
I've narrowed mine down to rice and potatoes. They're the only two that my body can actually handle. Of course I have pasta. I live with an Italian. My partner's Ali, she's Italian. So we eat pasta. We used to have pasta like 5 days a week. Now it's once a week because I can't really tolerate it.
Yeah.
But the day after I have it, I feel like I'm hungover. I feel like I'm literally hanging because of my body just doesn't process the carbohydrates because they are processed. Pasta's not a natural form. It has to go to a factory to be made.
Yeah.
So I know what works for me. I run off high fats and proteins.
Yeah.
Keto is the furthest thing from what I do. Like I don't condemn that at all. But my body, like we just said, your petrol and your diesel is your fats and your carbs. Charlotte runs off petrol. I run off diesel. It's just two different things. It's about figuring out what works for you. What works for you.
And I think that's where like the myth of, carbohydrates gain you weight, that is so false in every single statement as possible. Like
the amount you're having.
It's the amount of food you're having. If you're consuming more food than you're moving, then you are going to gain weight. And remember, this is over a consistent period of time. If you have 3 days, 7 days, we even mentioned this on previous episode. If you have a week off, you're not going to see much difference in your progress in terms of it. It's not going to negatively affect your progress at all. Say you went on holiday and you did have a full cruise and you ate whatever, you would drop that water retention the minute you come back and get back on routine. If you have one day where you go out for a meal and you overeat, or you have a Chinese and you overeat, whatever, like you will not see a detriment in your progress. If you go months and months with eating a calorie surplus and moving less, you are going to gain weight. That is the fact. Whereas the opposite, if you spend months and months in a calorie deficit, you will lose weight. Like that's the science. Like it's literally so factual, but it is finding. And I don't want people to sit there now and be like, oh, what do I actually work best off? Well, actually, maybe just see what carbohydrate you're having at your lunch.
Just start tracking.
If
start
you're
doing
having,
what you're doing now.
like if you're having a really high carbohydrate meal, higher glycemic as well, and that's where your blood sugar will come rising and then crashing down really quickly. So that is like your white bread, your white rice.
If you notice that's making you feel tired, if you notice that's making you feel bloated,
decrease that energy.
Guess what? That's your body telling you. That's an alarm ringing. If it's making you feel tired, because food shouldn't make you feel tired. Food should give you energy. It's fuel. If it's making you feel tired, it's making you feel bloated, and it's making you go to the toilet, and it's not looking great, then that's a clear indication that your body isn't digesting it very well, and something needs to change, and you might need to start looking at eating something differently.
Yeah, just changing.
Another example that I used to give people is, let's say we had you and we cloned you, and we had Charlotte A, Charlotte B, and your calorie deficit number is 1,800 calories, right? And I gave you 1,800 calories of whole foods, and you've got to do that for a week, whatever. And then the other version of you had 1,800 calories worth of McDonald's. Well, both of you are in a calorie deficit, right? So both of you are going to lose weight. But Charlotte B, who is just functioning purely off of a McDonald's, I said to her, you can have whatever you want from McDonald's every single day.
As long as it's
just 1,800 calories. She's still going to lose weight.
Yeah.
But she's going to look like shit. She's going to feel like shit, and she's going to perform like shit. Her skin's not going to be very good. It's going to be messing with her hormones, but she's still going to lose weight because she's in the calorie deficit.
There's no nutritional value.
The science is the science. But the difference is Charlotte A is getting all of that good nutritional value, and Charlotte B is getting none of that nutritional value. So in the long term, Charlotte A, who's eating healthy and eating cleaner and eating with all the good macronutrients, she's going to look great, and she's going to have long-term success. Where the person who's just eating 800 calories worth of McDonald's, yes, she's going to lose weight, but long-term, that's going to start to deteriorate as she starts to deteriorate, because it's going to start messing with other things.
Yeah.
But the science is the science. Calorie deficit is calorie deficit.
It is. And like you just said it perfectly then about the nutritional, like the vitamins, the minerals, like people need to understand that when you are in a deficit, obviously, yes, your intake is lower, but you still can get in the foods that give you those vitamins and minerals. And a lot of people tend to, drop their healthy fats because, like I say, it's 9 calories per 1 gram. So they're obviously going to take up majority of their food if they have a lot of it, but it is very much doable. It's just about understanding, A, what works for your body, tracking so you are educated, and then getting the experience, because without those little like nuggets of help during the week, you're going to be blinded, and you're going to be thinking you're on one thing when actual fact you're on another. Yeah. And I think that's what's really important when speaking about tracking.
100%. And then the next question I'd say, because it's another common one, is how should I be fueling for my workout?
Yeah.
Because we've got clients that come to us, we start at 5:30 in the morning, and we've got clients that come at 5:30 in the evening.
Yeah.
So you might be one of those people listening where you train at different times of the day. So how you fuel for your session is very important. The type of session that you're doing, the time of the month it is for you, the time of the day it is for you. There's so many different variables. So let's dive into that. How should people be fueling for their sessions?
I used to be a morning trainer. Like I used to train at about 8, 9. Obviously, since then changing my job now, I do early mornings at the gym. I won't train now to the afternoonish. So let's say someone's coming for a 5:30 session. If anyone comes in the morning and they're like, oh, I'm feeling quite low on energy today, I'm feeling quite tired. I'm like, oh, have you eaten? No, I don't eat that early in the morning.
First question we ask, right?
It's literally the first question, have you eaten? And they're like, no, I don't eat that early in the morning. I can't eat that early in the morning. Okay, well, we can stomach something little. As you mentioned at the start, it's always about the night before. So what have you eaten the night before? Like, have you eaten a nice, nutritious, high protein, moderate carbohydrates, moderate healthy fats? Is that been your meal the night before? So let's just say that's chicken, rice, and veggies, for example. That's a perfect meal for that. If someone's eaten that, they should feel okay to train fasted. But I would always recommend something little, something pre-session that is higher in carbohydrates. So you've got to think pre-session, you want high carbohydrates and low to moderate healthy fats and protein, because those two are the hardest things to digest when you're training, whereas carbohydrates are sugars. So they literally get burned like this. So for me, I always say to the clients, even if it's just a rice cake with peanut butter or rice cake with some jam or some honey on, you've also got a couple of dates, which we recommended to so many clients.
Yes, if anyone follows me, you will see that's my jam. My thing is
peanut butter dates.
On the weekends is the only day I get to train early in the mornings like you, because the gym's full and we're working. I'd love to train 6 a.m. every single morning, 5 a.m. every morning, but we're at work at 5 a.m. So the only days I get to work out early is on the weekends, and I train at 6 a.m. on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm not going to wake up and start banging
Having
pans around
porridge
and
or-
making.
yeah.
I can't eat porridge, but I'll not
Yeah.
gonna start making eggs and bacon in the morning before I train.
No.
But I need something that's going to give me some strength and some power to
Yeah,
go and
quick
deadlift
energy.
or bench, whatever I'm going to do. So my go-to is always something caffeinated, and then it will always be honey, dates and peanut butter.
Perfect.
And again, I now know that I can't have peanut butter, so I have to have cashew butter. So I've figured that out because of the intolerances that I have with my autoimmune
Yeah, and you
things.
wouldn't know that without.
I wouldn't know that without figuring,
tracking.
with tracking that and trial and error in that.
Yeah.
But those short, sharp, quick sugars again into my digestive system.
The higher glycemic ones that I was just talking about.
100%.
So yeah, anything like dates,
Honey.
even honey, half a bagel with like, again, some peanut butter on, a saurine, like I recommend to a few of the members as well, like something just quick and easy and digestible. That is what you want that early in the morning.
What I would also say there is the type of session, you can get away with a few things. If your session is going to be cardio biased and you're going for a run, for example, or if you've got a very conditioning biased session where you're not required to be able to be powerful and strong, you could probably get away with doing that fasted. And then it could be you just have like an intra-workout drink. So you could be drinking something whilst you're training. That's where sort of like, I don't like to use this example, but when you look at football, Lucozades and stuff like that, there's sugary drinks that go in. There's loads of other things on the market. But you could get away with not doing that. But if you're turning up to the gym in the morning and you're going to be deadlifting or squatting and you need some power and strength, you're going to need some fuel in your tank.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your performance is going to be dipping and you're going to potentially not be getting the best out of your
100%.
session.
And if you came to like a 9:30 session, like we have the 9:30, even some of those members come and they're not fueled, and that's crazy because they've probably woken up at about 6 o'clock,
Done the school
6, 7
run,
o'clock.
yeah, fed
So
their kids.
they're going to be massively underfueled. So that's perfect opportunity to get in your breakfast, and you could have that breakfast, you know, at 6, 7. Like I'd always recommend if you're going to eat a meal, then anything from like 90 minutes to maybe even 2 hours prior to your session. And then you could have a pre-workout, you know, easy digestible carbohydrate. But just kind of going back to the run and like the fasted conditioning, if you are someone, especially a woman, who does suffer with like hormonal imbalancements, or even just in general, women, you're going to benefit more from having something pre-workout, any workout you do, like literally any workout. Anyone who's consistently training fasted, you will end up having issues with your menstrual cycle and your hormones, because it's so important for a woman to have a fasted, have a non-fasted session. So even if it's just like a little carbohydrate, whatever, because you will eventually.
So people
find
that do fast, then you're saying, if you're a female,
I would highly recommend to
do
have
not
food.
fast.
Yeah. Highly recommend if you were a female to have something pre your session, even if
purely because
hormones. Yeah, purely from hormones and a hormone standpoint. I mean, fasted,
Why do you think people think fasted works?
I think people just think they burn through their fats.
Or I think it's because they think because it's hard.
Right.
I want to eat, I can't eat. I want to eat, I can't eat.
Oh, it's more of a mindset
It's
thing.
like, oh, I'm doing so well because I can fast.
Yeah.
And because they feel hungry and they're beating that hunger hormone.
Yeah.
That's why I feel people think that they think that fasting works.
Possibly. I mean, there is so much in fasting.
But when you look at fasting, all we're doing is cutting down the window.
That's it. Yeah.
So then that goes back to you're just being in the calorie
You're
deficit.
still eating the same
What
foods.
everyone needs to understand is every single diet, whether it's a fasted, whether it's a fasted window diet, whether it's a keto diet, anything, any diet that's ever been created in the world is just a method to get you into a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
They're just different ways. Some people enjoy that structure of I can only eat between this time and that time because they like that structure. But all of it just goes back to
You're
if you
still
reverse
eating the
engineer it,
same.
it's just get you in a calorie deficit. That's all these diets are doing.
And I think, I understand that like fasting, that is a completely different topic anyway. And there is loads of research out on it that does show that it helps with like those who are pre-diabetic, diabetic, obese. Again, though, is it because you're just still eating in a calorie deficit and you are just shortening that window? That is probably another topic of discussion, to be honest. But yeah, going back to kind of when you should eat, always around 90 to kind of like 2 hours, 90 minutes to 2 hours before. And then potentially if you're then training a bit later in the day, you might want to have like a pre-workout snack around 30 minutes before. If you're in the afternoon, obviously you have your lunch and then again 30-minute snack before that. always carbohydrate focused, something that's going to give you that quick energy to get in your session. And then always replenishing with, again, carbohydrates, because your glycogen stores will go down. Protein stores will be pretty depleted. So as well, you want to make sure that you're replenishing those. And your healthy fats will probably be moderate anyways, because unless you're doing an extensive, like a 20-kilometer run, you won't eat too much into your fat stores realistically until you get to that part.
So this rolls into another question, because this is something I see sometimes a lot, and it annoys me, as most things do. When we don't advocate double sessions in our gym at all, because you should be coming and giving 110% to the session, and then your job is done. Your job is then to go and focus on your nutrition. Only a professional athlete would train twice a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, because they have really good rest recovery protocols. And most importantly, they're eating between meals. So when I used to play football, the day was split into 2. So we had AM and PM. So we'd all come in, you'd have breakfast, you'd do the AM session, you'd train, you'd have lunchtime, nap time, recovery time, massages, then you go back and do some training in the afternoon and gym work. But what they're doing is they're sandwiching every single session with food and recovery, where when people are training twice a day, they might train in the morning, the evening, or do sessions back to back. What people are not understanding is once you get past like a 60-minute window, technically your body starts to turn off and starts to use different energy systems. So when you look at professional sport, look at tennis, they sit down and they eat banana in between. That's why you got to have half time in all sports, because when you're in the changing rooms, they're refueling.
Yeah.
You look at like marathons, people taking on gels, you're refueling.
Half marathons,
ultras, you have checkpoints of food because you're refueling. So when you're going, you're starting to become catabolic, and then you're just eating away at your muscle mass rather than stored fat and sugars that you're trying to burn.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that I always see all the time, and really pisses me off.
I can tell. You obviously, people that do double sessions in a day, you've just said it perfectly there in between everything. You just have to know to refuel. Like, you can't do double sessions on minimal food. And also, if you are doing double sessions, firstly, is it a performance thing you're doing double sessions for? Is it because you are training for an ultra or a marathon or a half marathon or a high rocks or whatever that competition is? You shouldn't really be in a calorie deficit for that. And that's where it again becomes conflicting. People try and be in a calorie deficit as well as then trying to work on their strength and their running. If you're running and you're running a lot, you shouldn't be in a calorie deficit, because running is not a tool for weight loss. And everyone knows that, and everyone should know that. I hope people know that. I really hope people know that running is just not a tool for weight loss. I've just started to lose weight because I started to run more. Well, yeah, because you started to expend more energy.
I know, right?
That's what it is. But it's what frustrates me is when people do, again, use running as a way to lose weight. And running, it's not a tool for weight loss. And if you are double training, you just need to make sure that you're replenishing your glycogen, your protein, and just making sure those healthy fats are higher as well, because at the end of the day, you're burning more fuel if you're double training. And don't get me wrong, some days I do and have to do a double session.
But you're fueling in between.
But I'm always fueling in between.
Resting, you're not having a 10-minute break, half an hour break. It might be an 8-minute PM session. Right?
Yeah. Like it'll be a morning session. I used to do a morning session and a run when I was training for my half marathon. Again, I'm training for a half marathon now. I'm going to have to double sessions sometimes, because you're condensing it, because you don't want to then it's either train every day or do some double sessions.
But one thing Charlotte's going to be doing is she's going to be prioritizing her sleep. She's going to be probably eating more calories if she's training twice a day. And that's the kicker here. If you're training more, you need to eat more.
And that's where when someone comes to me saying
protein goes up, carbs goes up, it all goes up.
It all goes up. Because and it's not that people get nervous that then they're going to gain weight. That's not going to happen, because you're expanding more energy.
That's a different goal, right?
Yeah.
If your performance goal is your performance goal, you need to pick.
Yeah. It's hard to do both. And if you are doing both and you're succeeding at both, which
will happen, but just happens over a longer duration of time.
It will be the people that are probably succeeding in that aspect probably know what they're doing in all aspects. And that's their way around it. Whereas the minute you start doing that and under eating, that is when, as a woman especially, that's when things can come into play with like menstrual cycle, energy, low libido, all of that other stuff, hair thinning, etc. Which again is probably a different topic for another episode, because we're both watching the time, seeing how much that's literally going by, like 70 minutes.
What other juicy questions have we got to finish off with? Last juicy question. God,
I think we've think that was pretty much it. In terms of, because we were going to save some of the lifestyle ones, weren't we?
Yeah, so remember guys, we're going to come back with
lifestyle.
part 2, which is going to be on training and lifestyle.
Yep.
And we might even put up another question box, so we've got some more good questions for there.
Yep.
But is there anything else, or how can we summarize this? So the main thing we wanted is for you guys to listen to this today and hopefully go away and be like, I can implement something immediately. I want you guys to have listened to this podcast and to have spotted potentially where your holes in your buckets are.
Yep.
And think, well, okay, I've got something to go ahead and work on. So to summarize, we need to understand where our protein is coming from, how important it is, understand what your protein requirements are for the day, reverse engineer it. We've spoken about how we've got those opportunities throughout the day to get our meals in.
Prepped,
3 meals, 4
organised.
meals, 5 meals, and you just build your meal up. Preparation is key, and understanding where to get your protein from is essential.
Making sure that you're organized. So can you do the food the night before? Can you write it in your diary the night before? You know, I would say the three top tips if you are in a calorie deficit or you are wanting to lose weight. This is just like for weight loss. Obviously, building muscle is a different thing, or gaining weight is a different thing. Is high protein target, tracking your food, being in a calorie deficit, and increasing your energy expenditure. You hit all those 3 things, you're on the key to success.
So that's
high volume foods. Actually, I'll actually put another 4 high volume foods. So that's a high amount of fiber. And because you've got to think, when you're eating in a higher volume, you're eating a lot more food for a lot of less calories. So that chicken fried rice that I just said that I have every day, you can pack that with veggies. That will volumize, that will help you feel satiated for longer. High protein, high fiber, but it's a lower calorie intake.
Yeah.
So those 4 things I would recommend.
Yeah, so if I was to summarize the reasons why you're not seeing results is, first and foremost, you're not getting enough protein. You're not tracking your food when you think that you're
not being honest with yourself.
You're not in a calorie deficit when you think you're in a calorie deficit, which means that you need to be tracking your food. So let's track just for a little bit as an awareness, so you can understand, okay, let me track for 3 days as an average. Understand, well, this is how far away I am from my protein goal, and this is realistically how many calories I'm having in. So from there, we can then start to see, well, this is where we can sort of patch up. So understand your protein, start to track and be honest with yourself about what you're actually doing.
Yeah, being honest with yourself.
Main reasons why you're not seeing the results, because you might be putting all of your effort into your training and you're putting little to no effort into your diet.
Your nutrition.
And everyone knows, if you were actually to flip that on its head and you were to put more effort into your diet and less into your training, you're going to see a big change in the way you look and feel.
It's 80-20 with training and nutrition is the 80%
Yeah,
and
100%.
training is the 20%. Even if you went into a calorie deficit and just moved more by walking, you would see a drop in your weight. You would see a change in your scale.
You can't out train a bad diet, right?
There we go. That is a great way to
The only
end
person
off.
that can is if you're an ultra marathon runner.
Yeah.
And that because you're physically running for God knows 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
But
You're
you
doing
cannot
mileage.
out train a bad diet. So
a good way to
preparation is
finish
key. Get your protein in. Track,
Organisation.
organize,
Yeah.
prioritize. Make this a prioritize.
Yeah.
It's a short-term commitment
For long-term results.
for long-term results, building habits.
Yeah. Because once
Stacking
you've got the habits and once you've stacked them and they're a part of your lifestyle, you won't do anything else because they're a part of your routine. Like that's what we figured out with our, like it's taken a while to get to where we are now with our habits, because we've built them up every single day. Like I don't go a day without knowing how much protein I eat, because I've done it for that long now. I'm aware of how much protein I have in a day.
I couldn't tell you last time I tracked. But
Yeah.
the way that I'm tracking in my head is, have I had protein for breakfast? Yes. Will I have protein for lunch?
Creature of habit.
Yeah. Will I have protein for dinner? I won't have a meal that's got no protein in it.
Yeah.
So I'll know in my head, well, it's 30 grams. I need to try and get something else from somewhere else.
Yeah. What can I have? That's a little
And
bit
I'm not a
extra.
supplement person. I don't do protein powders. I take creatine. That's all. I don't do anything
Yeah.
else because I can't. So it's just a matter of just figuring out what you need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And if anyone ever has any questions or you want to just ask anything to do with food, training, nutrition, don't forget to just drop us a message. Our handle is at the Game Changer Training, and we'll be happy just to have a conversation with anyone about anything that they want to know.
100%. Exactly that. But yeah, guys, again, thank you very much. We will be back. Yeah, we'll be back. Hopefully that was some good gold for you guys to take away. We will be back with part 2, which is going to be all about in training, intensity, how often you should be training, what you should be training, what you should be doing, Again, the common mistakes that we see why you aren't seeing results, when it comes down to your training, training and lifestyle on the
Training and
next
lifestyle.
episode. So
Good question.
until then, thank you very much, team.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
We'll see you guys at the next one.
Bye.
Charlotte, thank you.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Cheers.